Hey everybody, Josh Looman from EA Sports, senior designer on Madden. Kind of led up the effort on designing Connected Careers this year, which is our brand new career mode. Basically takes offline franchise, online franchise, and superstar mode, rolls them all into one big mode where you can play online against 32 other people in a league. You can be a player where your buddy's a coach. You can face off on the field, build your legacy, and kind of go through a career. So the first thing you're going to see with our new main menu is the ability to play a career. When you select that, you have the ability to choose an online or an offline career. So I'm going to choose to play offline. We give you a lot of different options. This year was really about giving you the ability to play this mode however you want it. So if you wanted to play as any player in the NFL, I know in the past our superstar mode, other career modes out there on the market basically allowed you to only play as a rookie, let's say, or only create a player. When we started designing this, we sat down and said, why don't we give everybody the ability to play however they want? If you want to be Greg McElroy from the Jets, you can. If you want to be Tim Tebow, you can. If you want to be Tom Brady, you can. Or if you want to create your own guy, you can. So at this point, you get to choose between actually being a player or a coach, whichever you want to do. One of the things I did during development towards the end was I played a lot of different careers. You can save a lot of different files. You can have a lot of different online careers. So I had one where I was Calvin Johnson. I had one where I was a created quarterback. I had one where I coached the Lions, where I coached the Jaguars. Like there's, you can play exactly how you want. So I'm going to go in as a player. The options you have, you can go on to our website and actually download your game face into the game. This is really cool because you actually see yourself in the game with your face. With your created player. You'll also be able to see your portrait on the screen. So if you're looking at a roster screen or a salary cap screen, your guy will be there and your face will be in the portrait. So you can either choose to upload a game face, you can go in and create a player, you can choose any active player like I talked about. So if you want to be Jay Cutler, you certainly can. You can choose between every guy on the roster, and if I want to be, Aaron Brown, I can. You can actually select NFL Legends. So if you want to go in and take over Barry Sanders and play as a rookie as Barry Sanders in today's NFL, you can kind of figure out how that'll actually play out and play through that. So again, there's a lot of different ways to play this. We wanted to make sure that we gave you so many different choices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a player. Now, this next step actually allows me to go through, depending on the position I want to be, and choose to be all these different types of players. So the real inspiration for this was a lot of RPGs out there. We wanted to make sure that we kind of put the first RPG into a sports game. So instead of just saying, I just want to be a general quarterback, these decisions that you make here on what type of quarterback or running back or wide receiver or tight end you want to be, they really do matter. If you choose to be a strong arm quarterback, by default, your ratings for your throw power are going to be much higher than the rest, but possibly your accuracy is going to be lower. So there's really a give and take there with the decision you make, and it's really going to impact the player that you create. So the next step is you choose which team you want to be on. So you can choose to be on any team in the entire game. The thing to remember is that you're obviously not going to start off as a 95 overall player because the whole crux of this mode is building your legacy, gaining XP and increasing your ratings, that kind of stuff. So you have to really choose wisely here. If you know that the Patriots have Tom Brady as their starter, don't create a quarterback and put him on the Patriots. He's not going to start over Tom Brady right away. Think of a situation where you can put a guy on a team, possibly like the Jets, where you can battle it out with Tebow and Mark Sanchez, and or the Jaguars, that kind of thing. Someplace, if you want to play right away, think carefully about the team you're choosing. So I'll go through and pick the Jaguars. The next thing, again, trying to take that RPG element that you're going to go through and choose is your backstory. So we spent a lot of time making sure that this had a big impact on your game. You can either choose to be an undrafted player, a low draft pick, which is probably around like the 4th to the 7th round, or a high draft pick. Now, the difference here is going to be if you choose to be a high draft pick, by default, your ratings will be higher from the start, but your goals will be much harder than they would be if you're undrafted. So if you want to be undrafted, your rating's going to be a little bit lower, but your goals will be pretty easy to reach. And as you'll see in a little bit, we've got tons of goals in this game, tons of XP, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to choose to be a high draft pick. So once I choose that, I get to come through and actually change the look of my player. I can change his name if I want to, what his jersey number is, what college he went to, how old he is. Our creative director, Mike Young, spent a good chunk of the year playing as a 35-year-old rookie. He was trying to recreate some Disney movie from the 90s. And he had this great story that he talked about that happened to him. He started out on the Cardinals, got to the end of the season, was the starter. They ended up getting to the Super Bowl but lost. In the offseason, the team naturally looked at him and said, this guy's 35. He's not actually that highly rated, so maybe it's time to move on from him. So they didn't renew his contract. They signed somebody else, and he ended up going to another team, making it to the NFC Championship game and beat the Cardinals. So there's so many stories here that you can kind of play through, especially in a league, especially in an online league with your friends. If I'm playing as Megatron and you're coaching the Bears, it's such a different dynamic when we're facing off against each other than we've ever had before. So I can go through and change my height, my weight, select my face, my chest size, what helmet, all the traditional stuff that you're used to doing when you create a player. So once you get past that part, you'll go in, and there's a lot of different settings we've got in here that apply to this mode. You can actually, as the commissioner, since I'm just starting a brand new league now myself, I can decide how often the CPU teams progress their players. I can decide if coaches get fired, so you can turn this off and have it so that you, if you choose to be a coach, can coach the Steelers for all 30 years if you want. So trying to add a lot of customization here. You can turn off, what type of trades are actually allowed. You can actually set up as a commissioner, if you create an online league, you can set it up so that only coaches are allowed in your league, or only quarterbacks, or only halfbacks, that kind of thing. So again, all in the first year, we're trying to give you as much customization as we can to make this mode as deep as possible and give you the ability to play it however you want. So the first thing you're going to see when you come in, we really focused on adding a lot of story into the game this year, especially in Connected Careers. So as you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, we've got stories that happen each week. This reacts to everything in the NFL. So when Jeff Fisher comes back, or Andrew Luck's been drafted, or the Jets have a lot of pressure, each week when a free agent signs, or a trade happens, or a big game happens, or the Super Bowl's won, we're telling you about it completely here. You can hold L2 if you want to and actually filter between stories that only apply to you, only apply to the draft, the top stories, that kind of thing. On the right is probably one of my favorite features in the entire mode. We have a virtual Twitter feed. So we've got a lot of media experts in here. Skip Bayless has killed me in my careers as I've played through, talking about, I had one year where I won Rookie of the Year with a running back, and he basically called me a fluke and said that next year I'm going to not be able to live up to expectations. So we tried to add a lot of personality, tried to add, some personalization in there to make it feel like your league's alive, make it dynamic, make you, see things that you never expected in a career mode before. And 2 years in, you're probably going to see articles and Twitter comments that you've never seen before. We've got Twitter in the draft, all kinds of cool stuff. So this is the news. If you move over to your My Career screen, this is going to show you your goals, your legacy, which is a big, big part of this mode. Basically everything you do in the mode. If you win Rookie of the Year, if you throw for 300 yards in a game, if you win the Super Bowl, all of that builds up to your legacy. And what you can do with that at any time, you can press the button on this screen and go in and compare yourself to a ton of all-time greats, all the active players in the league. You can compare yourself to your buddies that are playing with you in the league. Compare your score, what you've accomplished, your Super Bowls, that kind of stuff. So this is a really big part of being able to compete in a different way. In the past, in a franchise mode, the real competition was head-to-head, and if you won the Super Bowl, you basically won the league. We wanted to add a new layer of competition into this new mode that, even if you didn't win the Super Bowl this year and your buddy beat you by 3 points on a last-second field goal, the things that you've accomplished as a player or a coach along the way are building your legacy and getting you closer to the Hall of Fame. So again, like I talked about, goals are a really big part of this. You've got weekly goals, you've got season goals, you've got milestone goals, tons and tons of goals. All of these goals give you XP, just like a traditional RPG. That XP you're going to then use if I had any right now after playing a game, to go in and progress myself. So just like an RPG, you're going to buy packages or upgrades that make your player better. They cost different amounts based on how important that package is to the position that you are. It also varies based on how old you are. So if you're really old, it's really hard to increase your speed. As coaches, I think one of the things that people have asked for years that we added to this mode is you get to go in and individually spend every single player on your roster's experience points that they've earned themselves and progress them how you want. You can automate that if you want and have the computer do it for you, but it gives you more control, I think, than you've ever had before. So you can upgrade yourself. You've got legacy score. You've got goals. Another thing that we added was we wanted to give you the ability to always know what you had to do next, to bring important information to you. So if you wanted to, you can go in and play a game, come back to the screen, and play your next game if you want to. And if you don't care about checking the news, you don't have to. So as a coach, you're going to get trade offers here. You're going to get guys that want to re-sign contracts. All the depth that you expect is all going to be brought to you in this screen. On the right-hand side, we're always trying to bring you information that gives you, a great indicator of what's important with that action that we're asking you to do. So we talked a little bit about practice earlier, and the idea with practice this year was looking at other sports games and other career modes and how we've done practice in the past and making sure that practice was much more of a compelling thing to actually be able to go in and do and want to do. In practice, I think in the past you've run random plays over and over. You really haven't earned anything from it. It feels sort of like an empty experience. We wanted to make sure that you had the choice to do what you wanted. So these are game scenarios. Think of them like a scrimmage. You're in a practice stadium. This is really great if you're trying to earn some extra XP, grind, and make your player or your coach better. If you're not starting on your team, this is a great way to kind of like move up the ranks. Again, we designed this in a way so that if you have very little time, like let's say you sit down on Thursday night just after eating dinner, you got 20 minutes to play, you can choose a scenario that just lets you play at the end of the third quarter or the fourth quarter. But if you've got a full, hour to play, you can sit down and play an entire game if you want to. So try to give you as many choices as possible there so that this didn't feel repetitive. If you play practice every single week for an entire season, you can try all these different scenarios and really get a feel. There's difficulty here, so, we've got some where you're down by 21 points in the third quarter, and if you come back, you get, a larger amount of XP than any others. So, we really try to focus on making practice really fun. The games, we try to make sure that the experience when you're a player is similar to when you're a coach. So we went back and forth designing this year, and early on we talked about other career modes where you're only playing as a player, like Superstar mode in the past or other games. They really only call the plays for you and let you walk out there and just run that play. We started to talk about it a lot and thought, that's really not a lot of fun. I know it's not the most realistic thing in the world, but as a player, we should allow you, if you're Calvin Johnson, to call your plays and kind of run your offense. So, if you put yourself on the Lions and you're a running back, traditionally in real life, they don't run the ball a whole lot, but we're going to give you the ability to kind of switch up their offense a little bit and run the ball and kind of see what you can do as a player. So I think it adds a lot more strategy to the game and makes things a lot more interesting. So we've also got a menu that, people have asked in the past with Online Franchise, when are you guys adding salary cap? Where's offseason free agency? I can't scout players. We've added everything that you guys can imagine in this year's brand new Connected Career Mode. So you can obviously go trade players. You can look at your roster. You can look at injuries. You can change your depth chart. You can go to My Career and check the Hall of Fame or progress yourself or look at your goals. One of the coolest features we have that I want to make sure everybody's aware of, that it's probably my favorite feature in the entire game. At any point in your career, in your league, let's say you're in a league with 10 of your friends, you can choose to quit as your current character, come back as somebody completely different, and never have to start the league over. So if you're playing through a year as a tight end, let's say, and you're breaking records, or maybe you're not doing that well and you just get bored as a tight end, I can choose this selection, go in and say, you know what, I really didn't want to be a strong arm quarterback. I'm kind of bored with that after a couple weeks. Let me create a new character. This doesn't change anything in the league. Every one of your friends is actually going through the league, playing and having fun each week. This doesn't change anything for them at all. All your league history is still there. Now I want to go be a coach, and maybe let's say I was going through as the Lions and I was having or the Jaguars, and I was having a great time actually playing on that team, but I didn't really care that much about my guy as the quarterback. Now I can choose to go in, choose to be Mike Mularkey from the Jaguars, check my settings, go back through, and nothing's changed. All your news stories that you saw before are still here. You can do that as many times as you want. So in my mind, what this does is it adds so much replayability to the mode. You can try out different characters. We encourage you to fail in this mode. Like, if you're not doing great, fine. Try another character. Try something else. So, this is really, I think, something that no other game has ever done before. It allows you to kind of play and reinvent yourself, I don't know, however many times you want. So that's kind of the crux of the mode. Obviously, you can play for 30 seasons. One of the big things we've added that it would take me a little bit to kind of show you guys is something that other games have never done before. So we've got branching storylines for rookies that you're scouting for the draft. So we want to make sure that no draft class ever feels the same twice. So one time you may play and you see these guys in the draft class, you're scouting them. You may see stories in the news center that talk about how this guy's the preseason favorite for the Heisman. Checks in during the year. Hey, he beat Michigan and threw 4 touchdowns against them. The end of the year, he wins the Heisman, goes to the Combine, looks great in front of scouts. He's the sure #1 pick, and all of a sudden he's picked in your league, and you're like, wow, this is the next Andrew Luck. The next time you play with that same draft class, think of it as choose your own adventure at times. Like, he may go to the point where he was supposed to beat Michigan, now he loses to them. It starts a downward spiral. He goes into the offseason, has a terrible combine, gets hurt in workouts. Now he drops to a second-round pick, and he's permanently changed in the game, and he's not as good of a player. So what it does is it keeps you on your toes, makes it feel really dynamic as you're playing. Every single draft class has that, and Trey Wingo records commentary in the draft where he recaps the real story that happened to those guys. So he recorded commentary for every single thing that could happen. He recorded commentary for the guy who did win the Heisman, or when he didn't win it and he lost to Michigan. So tons of commentary, hours and hours and hours we recorded. 30 draft classes with like 10 to 12 guys in each class that have that special feature associated with them. So again, we did this all in 1 year. It's a massive, massive change. Brand new career mode. You can play online or offline. It's got 85 screens. I think it had like 60 features within Connected Careers. So we hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you love it. And we're really excited about kind of getting the feedback for it.